Hey, it's a little dark. Sorry. Um, uh, so, for those of you who are following me on Instagram, I'm doing this weekly challenge for the month of February. It has to do with, mainly, it has to do with rhythmic integrity and time. Um, and I don't know. I was playing. We played a concert today for the education series, and we were playing Appalachian Spring, um, and that has a lot of different time signatures and things like that. But the part, hey Am, uh, the part that I wanted to talk about is not the normal places where you have like da dee da 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 dee, like that kind of stuff. I was thinking about the last three notes. There are fermatas on each one, which means there's not really time associated with it. The conductor just gives you a beat and you have to play. Um, and as the way I approach those moments is I usually take the route of following whoever I'm playing with instead of depending on the situation, of course. So those last three notes are with the harpist, and so what I tend to do is based on the first note, actually a couple of notes before that, I really pay attention to how the harpist, moves before they make the note or before they play the note. So our particular harpist has a specific way of playing, and I really pay attention. Okay, how is she playing the notes today? What's the tendency? Before she plays the note, does she have a body movement of some sort or a very noticeable cue of some sort? And these are things you can totally use in any situation, not just orchestral. But if if you're with a band or with a small group of people and you have to play with a lot of, you have a lot of duets or things like that, really paying attention to how people are relating their parts to time. So are they like right in the pocket depending on the conductor or the groove? Are they slightly ahead or slightly behind? And the more the more you expose your ears to different players, like especially when you listen to soloists, like hearing how they relate to time. Um, it, it's sorry, I'm just kind of ranting, but yeah. So I really paid attention to the way she was playing before we got to that section, and based on the movement and based on just kind of it's a little bit of gut feeling and a little bit of calculation at the same time. So sometimes it's B B B like that kind of thing. Other times it's right on B or a little bit after. So I really pay attention to how people are reacting and what the relation to this is. Hey mom. um, So I think, the, I mean, ways to get into that kind of stuff is again just making sure two things: that your sense of time is super solid, that you know your own personal relationship to time. You know your own tendencies. You know what's really easy for you to lay down as far as rhythm is concerned. What's more difficult. Um, and then the more you work on that yourself, the more you can start manipulating it in relation to other people's sense of time. Um, and when you're playing with a group of people, everybody has to make concessions. So it's like the way I hear it is literally if you have like um, if you imagine, I don't know, maybe like a staff above me, and you hear like a group of people have this relation to time, another group of people have this relation, and another group of people have this relation. Depending on the situation, I have to pick one of those to go with. So it's usually I go with the majority, obviously. So I'm in my hearing. I'm like, okay, people. I hear all these different things, and then I hear a group of people who are really solid on this side of the time. So it means I go here. Whereas if you're in a situation where time has to move a certain way, and a group of people are stuck in this set of time, you have to do something in a responsible way to lead that group of people into another state of time. Or if you have a retardando or a accelerando kind of thing. But that's usually not as difficult because everybody knows they have to move at some point. It's just who are we following at the time, you know? And then knowing how much to move, like you only have 2 bars, which means you have to move da 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 instead of like da 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 kind of thing. Yeah, I'm kind of jumping all over the place. But yeah, the whole challenge thing for these next few weeks is really just to work on the inner metronome for yourself and rhythmic integrity and all that good stuff. And that'll make not only your own personal relationship to time better, but it'll expose you to different methods of hearing time. In some cases, I really try to visualize time in a way, like because the way we play, everything has to move. So time moves slower, or time moves faster. You know, so really having a visual aspect connected to it as well. But the first week is really just audible, and yeah, hearing it. I'm sure at some point I'll do the velocity variants from my book to work on the visual and the motor, the body motor for working on time, which comes. I mean that's things you can work on really easily. But again, if you can't say it, you can't play it. So I wanted to work on the voice and hearing it first before we worked on the hands, because you know, why work on hands if we don't have a stable base? And yeah, I don't know. I'm really I'm really like I'm passionate about a lot of things, but these days I've really been passionate about time and rhythm, and just I don't know, hearing good what people would call pocket, just people who just really know where the time is, and studying those kinds of people like Nate Smith. His pocket is disgusting. And what I really appreciate about his playing is his use of silence, because like I mean people can be really good drummers and things like that, and they try to fill the space a lot, but like just letting time go by is really effective for phrasing, especially when you start manipulating it. But to do it with a strict metronome is also really groovy. So if you don't know about him, Nate Smith, watch his stuff. He's great. I love his stuff. And yeah, I think that's basically what I wanted to talk about. Just why I'm kind of going crazy on time these days. And I mean, it's something that everybody has to work on, like a lot. And I mean, at a certain point, you'll get to a point where you'll be able to tell if you're pushing or pulling the time, if you're right on. The trickier rhythms get, you have to keep those up a lot more. They don't just stay with you. Like if you're trying to do 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 or 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1, like that kind of thing, or 1 2 3 4 5 1 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1, or 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 4 5, like that kind of stuff. Just doing that without saying it out loud might be a little hard. Like it might sound like it'll sound kind of wonky. So the trickier the rhythms get, the more you have to keep those up. But quarters, you know, you should be able to play quarters in time, relatively, with all things considered. So, yeah. Who's all on here? I don't even know. So yeah, that's my time rant. Um, yeah, I wish it's weird hearing things that I don't know. It's like you hear a really nice groove, and then you if something's out of line, it's like you lose. You kind of like stumble a little bit. Yeah, I hate that feeling because it's just like you're just grooving along, like that kind of thing, and then you have like I can't even do it. um, yeah, I try to avoid those. Yeah. Oh, again, playing with people, you have to really concede a lot with when it comes to time. Like and the other thing is everybody is responsible for the time that's going on. So you can't just take a back seat. Especially, I mean, either way, if you're playing the subdivisions, or if you're playing the bigger beats, either way, like the subdivisions have to listen to the bigger beats to make sure they're not expanding or crushing the inner beats, and the bigger beats have to listen to the inner beats to make sure they don't come in late or early, or push or pull the inner beats. So it's like you guys both have to listen to each other and come up with a solid, not even a solid meet, but you both have to agree on how to respond to time together. Um, and there will be situations where, like, I really like playing right in the center of time. But in an orchestra, I can't really do that. I have to play slightly ahead because of where I am in the orchestra. I have to play, like, just on the edge of too early, just to make sure that my sound gets heard out there and to my colleagues at the right time. Which takes practice. You have to practice that with the metronome, playing just right before the metronome speaks and right after, so you can play with playing ahead, playing behind, really messing around with how to respond to time. So yeah, again, everybody is responsible for time, so you can't just sit back and relax. You gotta listen to the subdivisions if anyone's playing them, and subdivisions have to listen to the bigger beats, whoever's playing with them, and they have to agree on how to make that work. And you'll also notice, and this really goes for people who don't play woodwind instruments or brass instruments. We just have to worry about this. Like, they have to worry about taking a breath. So you have to also take into account the timing of that breath. Do they need extra time to breathe in order to make the sounds they need to make? Which there are certain situations I found where we're at a certain tempo and we have to decrease it like by a 0.5% of the tempo to make sure that the woodwinds can make the sounds they need to make in the right time. And like I've played with, I don't even know, like there was one day, it was years ago, where I played with a group of people, and like I could really hear that it wasn't the flutes, it was like the clarinets were struggling a little bit to keep up between breaths because they had a really long line of digga 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 digga, like that kind of like the breath, but the time was just like slightly too fast. And I forget what I was playing. I think I was playing woodblock, and I just like just a tiny bit, just brought it back a tiny bit. It wasn't a lot. It was just like a backbeat version of what we were at. And as soon as the clarinets were done, we were right back in the center of time. Like, it was like, that's the kind of stuff I love doing for orchestras, where you can, like, using your musicianship, essentially, make sure that everybody can actually, like, keep it going, and you're not, like, hanging someone out to dry. Same thing goes for string players. If there's something too fast, or not that there's a lot too fast for string players, but you know what I mean. Just, you have to be, again, you all have to, there's a lot of concessions when it comes to time when you're playing with people. And you can't just hog time, and you can't just barrel through. I know a lot of I know a lot of musicians who just barrel through. They're like, it has to be this. I'm like, no. Okay, you get it. Yeah, I hate when that happens, because it's just it ends up making the other people sound bad. Like, you want to make everybody sound good, you know. So if you use time wisely, big ears, really, again, paying attention to the subdivisions. If you hear the clarinets need to sound good, you got to bring the time there. If it's here, they need like, that's all just barely noticeable. Like, yeah, other things to practice for that is purposefully speeding up and purposefully slowing down in an organic way. Again, you don't want to go like, no, you want to do it so subtle that, like, cool, okay. All right, so that's my time rant. Cool, hope you guys liked it, and please use time wisely. And yeah, it'll make your relationship to I mean, it works. It really affects phrasing too, because if you're singing a phrase like that kind of thing, or you like, just a slight okay. That doesn't really work out as much. Like, I don't know. If it sounds in a way where you can really latch on to something, where it's not like like that kind of thing, like I don't know. Well, I mean, the more you do that for yourself, when you hear someone else do it, like, you'll be able to tell where things are going to be placed. Like, there are so many instances where I don't look at anyone, and it scares a lot of people. Like, especially when I play triangle, I just know where the beat's going to land, just because of what came before. Like, so slight retard, bum yump bump. So it's like bum yump. And I just know it's gonna be that instead of bum yump bump. It's not gonna be that, just based on what I heard before. So it's cool to be able to be in that, like, wavelength. It's legitimately a wavelength. Everybody's just on this train together. I don't know why I did this. This is a car. You get the idea. Okay, I'm done. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. Or, I don't know, how do you guys see? How do you guys hear time? I mean, sometimes I see time. But, yeah. It's a good time. Alright. I'm going to go on Instagram now and do this. But thanks for watching. I'll save this on Facebook, and I'll probably put it on my YouTube. So, okay. Peace out.